There's been a lot of talk about protest vote or third party vote this election, and I've heard a lot of people talk about it. And so I want to address it just for a few minutes. A couple of thoughts on the matter. Um, I worked on George the First second campaign. I voted for him the first time. I made phone calls. I put out yard signs. Um, whatever they asked me to do as a volunteer. I worked on a couple other congressional campaigns a few times. So I've kind of been involved in politics, and those of you who know me know that I really do enjoy it. Um, George, George the First, as I like to call him, he lost to Slick Willie, and I was pretty much devastated by it. I couldn't believe that people would vote for a draft dodger, which is what Bill Clinton was, aside from being a rapist and many other things. Then the next campaign, presidential campaign, came around, and it was Bob Dole's turn. And I remember the extreme lack of enthusiasm for Bob Dole. It was actually probably worse than it was on George the First's second campaign. And publicly I talked him up, but I'm about to share something that I've never shared, I don't think, publicly. I didn't vote for Bob Dole. As a matter of fact, there's been more than one election that I voted third party, or I voted a protest vote. That year, I believe I voted for the Libertarian Party. I just couldn't bring myself to vote for Bob Dole just because it was his turn. I couldn't buy into it. The the next time around, I supported Huckabee. Worked on his behalf as much as I could, and to this day I believe that the RNC sabotaged Huckabee and Romney in South Carolina and Florida to keep them so that McCain would get his turn. And I couldn't vote for McCain either, and so I voted Constitutional Party. And whenever Romney ran, I voted again Constitutional Party. So why am I telling you all this? Well, first of all, I want to point out, for those of you who are ready to blow up the system, welcome to the party. I've been here a long time. I've been hollering for years that we needed to blow up the system. The problem is that you don't understand how to blow the system up. You're not going to blow the system up by voting third party. Look, I've done it 3 or 4 times now, and I'm going to ask you just point blank. Have you seen a news report about how Ernest blew up the system by voting third party? No, you haven't. Has it made any difference whatsoever? No, it hasn't. The only way that I've made any differences is by attending local meetings and by going to the party meetings and by going to the city council meetings, and not the ones where everybody's up in arms about something, but to the ones that nobody wants to be at. The ones where they're bloviating about nickel and dime nonsense. You see, that's how you blow the system up. You blow the system up by getting involved, not by checking out. You're not going to blow the system up by simply voting third party, okay? It's just not going to happen. And you say, well, if enough people aren't. That's the problem right now we've got, is enough people aren't doing anything. Everybody, I hear all the time, well, I don't have time to do this and I don't have time to do that. But yeah, we have time to go to stupid football games. We have time to go to basketball games. We've got time to go paintballing or hunting. And look, I enjoy recreation as much as the next guy. But let's just be honest. We make time for the things that we enjoy and that we think are important to us. We don't make time for politics. To sit and say that I'm going to blow the system up by voting third party this time, I'm sorry, it's just nonsense. No, you're not. What you're going to do is you're going to put somebody in office that's not going to blow the system up, but rather who's going to further ensconce the system and make it even harder to resist the system. The truth of the matter is we need somebody in office that's willing to blow the system up. We need somebody who's not part of the system. If you want to vote third party, if you want a alternative candidate, You know what? Then the time to do that is after this election is over. Start next week working for a third party candidate. Start next week putting people in the Congress and the Senate, and let's make a difference then. But when you're only paying attention once every 4 years for just a couple months before the general election, I'm sorry. You're not making a difference. You're part of the freaking problem. Okay? You can't just sit and look for a few minutes and say, oh, yeah, this person is that or this person is that. The truth of the matter is, we don't really know these people. I mean, we just don't. All we can do is vote the party. These decisions were made years ago, not in the past couple of months. And to sit and say, well, a third party is going to make a difference, or it's going to blow something up, or I'm standing on principles. Look, I've stood on principles 3 times, and you know what it got me? Nothing. I got absolutely nothing. Let me tell you something. As a believer, I vote first on Christian values and second on constitutional values. And the one thing that the conservatives and the Christians cannot seem to be able to pull their head out of their rear ends and grasp hold of the concept is small victories. You know, when the Lord sent the children of Israel into the promised land, they didn't just walk in and take the entire promised land on the first day. They had multiple battles. They had multiple victories. And they had multiple losses. But you see, we look at a situation and we're thinking, oh, wait a minute. I can't get it all right this time, so I'm not taking anything. Listen, guys, we're not going to get it all in one election. The liberals and the progressives have been fighting this war for 100 years, and some of us are just now waking up to it. Let's take a victory where we can find it. Let's take a victory where it's there. The Bible says to be as clever as serpents and harmless as doves. Well, we're plenty harmless, but we are not clever. It's time that we take our victories where we can get them. Listen, I don't think Trump is a saint. I don't think anybody out there is a saint. I know for a fact I'm not a saint. And it's not about whether he's a womanizer or he's that or he's this or he's that. I look at him strictly from a political point of view. Of the candidates running, which one do I have the greatest chance of getting what we need to support this country? I know what I get with Hillary. It's more of the same. With Trump, there's at least a chance. There's at least a hope that we can get some constitutional government back in place. And listen, if he doesn't, we can blow it up. We can really blow it up. But if we allow more of the same corrupt politicians in office again, guys, you know what? We're never going to get them out. We've got to start somewhere. Is Trump the perfect candidate? No. Trump wasn't, as I've said many times, Trump wasn't even in my top 5. I honestly, truly believed when Trump started that it was a publicity stunt. And I know there's some other theories out there, and it might be true. But here's the thing. If Trump's in office, the one thing that he'll have to do is respect and listen to the people who put him in office. And it wasn't the corrupt politicians. It wasn't the corrupt corporate politicians or the corrupt corporations that keep putting the same type of politician that they can control in office over and over again. I don't think he's an angel. I think he's as base as most people are when there's no Christ involved. I think that he's becoming. I think he's slowly evolving, if you will, or even coming to a place of revelation. And I think that this has helped him some. But here's the thing. You judge people by the people around them. Okay? There's a lot of good people around Donald Trump. Will they be able to 100% influence him on everything? No. But look, who among us does? But I think that they will have some influence. On some level, we as Christians, we as conservatives, have got to stop cutting our own throats. I mean, we've just got to. We've got to start looking at the big picture. And I've heard people say, well, I'm looking at the big picture. That's the reason I'm not voting for Donald Trump. Let me explain something to you. If you're looking at the big picture and you're not voting Donald Trump, then you don't understand the picture. Because there's one key issue in this next election that we will vote on tomorrow, whether you like it or not. It comes down to one issue for me. Supreme Court justices. Listen, with the death of Anthony Scalia, and I remember Tom Gresham said it was sad that gun rights were protected by a 5-4 vote. 5-4. With the death of one Supreme Court justice, we could lose all those rights. Listen, we've lost property rights by a 5-4 vote. Guys, we have to look at Supreme Court justices. We have no other chance of getting a pro-life justice on the court. We have zero chance with Hillary Clinton. Zero. We have zero chance of getting a pro-Second Amendment justice with Hillary Clinton. There is at least a possibility with Donald Trump. And everybody keeps saying, well, they're both bad. If they're both bad, why not vote for the bad one, that at least there's some hope of some good coming out of it? You know, we forget that Messiah used the Pharaoh. He used Nebuchadnezzar. He used Xerxes. I mean, countless godless men, godless leaders to promote his agenda. It's time that we wise up and we look past the next few minutes. We look past our own arrogance and we make a decision based on a long-term strategy. Based on more than, oh, I'm standing on principle. I'm standing on principle too. I'm not going to change anything I believe because I vote for Donald Trump tomorrow. But for the next 4 years, see, I'm not willing to let it go. I'm not voting tomorrow and then Wednesday forgetting all about politics. I'm voting tomorrow and then Wednesday I'm going to be on the phone railing. I'm going to be on the phone calling my senators and my congressmen and going to meetings and promoting values that are important to me as a Christian. You see, that's how we make it a difference. That's how we blow it up. That's what will change our society in a political speaking. And I'm trying to keep this strictly political. I understand the only way we're really going to change the society is that we change people's hearts. I'm just speaking politically right now. I'm not speaking theologically. So listen, tomorrow I'm voting Trump. I'm hoping that some of you out there who are on the fence, some of you out there who think that you're standing on principle, you're going to blow the system up by voting third party, you're not. I'm hoping that you'll engage your brain and use a little bit of wisdom and think past the moment. Think about the unintended consequences, because that's what we often forget about.